Hey, beautiful people! It's another episode. We welcome you to the Blueprint Sessions, episode 35, and we actually invited a very good friend of ours, all the way from Tata. But I've known her for a couple of years actually. Yeah, but we've been interacting via social media, and we've been meeting up and stuff. So how is it?
I'm good, man. Gentlemen.
I'm well, thanks, Mercy. It's very good to have you. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you for having me here.
Okay, so first of all, we're going to be talking about your book that you wrote. How long did it take you to write this book?
It was like 7 months.
7 months?
Yeah, in total.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Tell us how, because most of what's in this book, I mean, I've been reading it, I'm still reading it. Most of what's in this book, it's stuff that you went through, even from the way that you grew up. So give us like a background of like where you come from and how you grew up, and then how did you get inspired with the book?
Okay, so first of all, I'm a village girl, like through a true real village girl.
Yeah.
Not as in those of Nolali and all that. No, I'm a real one. I grew up at Ekhocha, Mkhele. It's
So
like
Usinda.
I don't know from Mkhomot, but anyway, there was Mkhele.
Oh, okay.
So in that village, I went to school in my village, and then I went to study in town. It's a small town called Eludale, and then from there.
Was writing always your number one thing?
Well, when I grew up, I was those kids. Actually, okay, I grew up, I went to school. My mother was working in the Department of Education, so you can imagine that there were always books, there were always shapes, there were always pens and all that.
You
So
couldn't avoid
I just grew up exposed into a reading environment, although I was from the village, which was very fortunate for me.
Yeah.
So I was always that child who had those extra books that I used to draw. I drew a lot when I was growing up.
Okay.
I don't know where that went to. And then I wrote a lot and I read so much. I would steal novels, love novels, and then 500 pages, just hide it somewhere and have this idea of Prince Charming and everything at a tender age. And I would read about dogs, so I love dogs still.
Okay.
And the first dog we had at home, we named it after a dog that we read about in a book, so you can imagine. So when I started high school at like 15, 16, I started writing this really bad poetry that I thought it was amazing.
How old were you though?
Like 15, 16.
But it was still bad.
Yeah. Okay, I thought it was very good, but now when I'm reading my poems, I'm like, oh my God, just someone hide me.
Yeah.
Because really
I can relate. Like when I look at my, like I used to rap. I don't know if you know this. When I like think about my previous lyrics, what the hell was I thinking?
What are you thinking?
That is so whack.
Yeah,
But I can relate what you're saying.
So I started then, and after that, I continued writing it. Actually, at 40, I was writing. People that know me really, really closely, they know that I was writing poems. It was mainly influenced by whatever someone was saying. If they were preaching, if they were singing, I'll just start writing from SCO. I used to recite some of my poems back then. And so it was like that. But I never ever thought I'd write a full book because I'm a person of short stories, actually. So from there, as I said, that I started writing my book because I had a lot of questions when I started living. Okay, so I went to school at Nyanga High School at Ngobo, and then I moved to Fort Hare.
University of Fort Hare.
University of Fort Hare. Yes, and I was doing BSc in Crop and Soil Sciences, and then I did my honors in soil science, and I did my masters in soil science. And then in the middle of my masters,
very educated.
I got a scholarship to study abroad to do a double degree, masters.
Do you have a particular reason why you actually studied what you studied?
So I grew up in a kind of impoverished home, and our way out of poverty was through farming. I really treasured farming because we would plant cabbages, spinaches, and then couldn't wait for it to be ready. And then you're like counting weeks and all that. You started harvesting. So that was exciting to me.
It's not because you know that we're going to get the land. So that's not the reason.
No, but I still need the land. I do. So, I went on to study agriculture. Actually, I had never seen my application form. My mother did everything for me since high school. But I think with the love, I just told myself that I wanted to do agriculture. So I went on with that, and I've worked a lot with farmers, both in South Africa and outside South Africa. So I went to study abroad in Ireland, did my first year in food security. And I went to do my second year in France, in the south of France, in a place called Montpellier.
Okay.
And I did my second year.
I just want to touch on something because you're going chronologically with the story that you also relate in your book.
Yeah.
There's something that you mentioned here about the cultural shock that you had over that side. So what are some of the differences that you could say that immediately when you landed in Ireland that you noticed immediately?
Actually, when I was in the airport. In South Africa here.
Okay.
Because I knew that I was going to be surrounded by a lot of white people, which is something I'm not used to. The only time I was around white people was when we were going to the shop to buy from a store master and then
and you weren't interacting, you were just...
Exactly, and you just chasing after the bicycle of their children or happy to give directions if they are getting lost to their vacations.
Wow, so, because where you come from is a very beautiful landscape, sea
we are by
stuff.
the beach actually. We're like 20 kilometers from the beach.
So that's how you used to see
That's how I only saw them, and I always looked forward to speaking English because my English was horrible. And I felt so good.
You weren't shy about it though?
No, I spoke bad English because my English was taught in Xhosa.
Oh.
Everything.
Yeah, so that's the history of our country.
For me, the shock of my life was that when I landed in Dublin, in Ireland, people were kind of cool, busy with their business. Nobody cared about being black or anything. But I think the actual thing for me was that I landed, took a bus to Galway, where I live, which is like 3 hours from Dublin. Okay. And then my housemates were white. Okay. That was the first time.
You weren't expecting that?
No. I was going to a white country. Of course, I was expecting that, but I didn't know the interaction. Remember, I'm a black South African.
Yeah, okay. There are white people in South Africa.
There are white people in South Africa, but they are kind of living their life. We have a very interesting relationship. I don't want to say it's complicated, but you keep your distance, I keep mine. We're good.
Yeah, as long as we smile to each other when we pass and greet each other.
You don't know my business. You've not been to my house. You don't know my language. You don't know my food. You don't know my interests.
Yeah.
You're white. You're riding your supremacy horse. You're very fine. Okay. So that's the South Africa that I'm coming from. So I'm arriving and my housemates, it's German, Italian, Spanish, and there were 2 Italians. Oh, so we were 5. Wow. So it was just me and...
You were the only black spot.
Yeah.
Sorry to...
So they were happy, welcomed me. Actually, before I did a Skype, they kind of do an interview before you come. This is how we live. Our house is clean, blah, blah, blah. So what do you like? What are you going to do? So you kind of develop this relationship even before you get there. And the lady who was doing it was very nice. So when I got there, it was home. So we started cooking together, going out together, party together, and then
seeing places, obviously.
Seeing places together, going shopping. We were girls, remember? We were going shopping together. So I was like, wow, this is so unusual. Yeah, for me as a South African,
there's something that Trevor Noah actually spoke about because people were boycotting the fact that Idris Elba was going to be the new James Bond. Now, James Bond is from the UK. So there's not really that much black people there, and he's a spy. James Bond is a spy, so he's not supposed to be noticed. So obviously you were like the Idris Elba, in that environment. Like, how did people treat you, being that there's not that many black people in Ireland? How did you feel like some sort of discrimination, or did you feel anything like that?
I felt so welcomed because I remember I used to. On Sundays, I used to go to church. There was a little Methodist church, and that was somewhere in town. And then I would go there in the morning. And then on my way back...
There's no Pentecostal churches there?
Not quite.
Okay.
No, it's the old churches, Presbyterians, your Anglicans, your Methodists. So I would go there every Sunday. And on my way back, I love jazz. So I would pass by a bar, sit there, grab something to eat, and just sit and have a drink and listen to the live music. Wow. And I always had someone coming to my table, be it a lady, be it a man. It was mostly ladies.
What would they say?
They were just coming, oh, where are you coming from? And I'm like, South Africa. Oh, wow.
Because obviously not from here.
They are very interested in knowing my story and they want to touch my hair. My skin is exotic. And
they don't know the memo that you're not supposed to touch a black woman's hair.
They engaged me like a human being. I was like, whew, for once, I'm leaving. I'm a human being. And my housemates, I think they actually triggered me writing a book because they were asking a lot of questions. And I would feel so embarrassed because sometimes I didn't know my history. Because when we were studying history as children, we were memorizing. Yeah. And in our memorizing, it was an orchestrated history that wiped off our own history. Yes. And it was all about making a black person this weak person. Yeah. Hottentots, you're told that, okay, to start with, You Xhosa people are not from here, you know. So it was like these trackers, the Boers that tracked and found South Africa. It's like this piece of land that was found and rescued by the Dutch people, which is
that's our history.
Which is utter nonsense. I'm sorry to say it. It makes me really like go nuts because that is the history that we have as Africans. Everything was wiped off.
Yeah.
So I was like, whoa, okay. I need to go back to my standard for history.
Okay.
Then I did this. I would lock myself in my room on weekends, sit on my computer, watch documentaries, read history. And then I love writing. So I'll just write my reviews on Facebook and people were commenting and going crazy, going mad. Like, why don't you write a book? Why don't you compile a book? And I was like, no, I'm not.
These were white people saying that.
No, it was everyone, actually.
Black people
even
and
from
white
here
people.
in South Africa, yeah. They were like, why don't you write something about... Some people were inboxing me that you have a lot of information, especially on history.
Okay.
Why don't you write something? And I was like, okay, no, wait a minute. I'm just learning. Because I believe that you don't just get a spark and you want to go out there and be like, okay, I got the light. You have to be saturated into whatever that you are reading. So when it digests inside you, you can... give it out to others.
Yeah.
So I started by writing reviews of what I'm thinking about history, and I really, with time, I got on and on, I was getting offended by the history, how the settlers came about to Africa, to South Africa, and
so a lot of emotions started building.
1652 to me was like, wow, this is, wow, I just want to punch someone. Because I started reading about it and I was like, how can these people do this?
Yeah.
How can they just come and disturb our ancestors just like that?
Yeah.
And drive them into marginal areas and take all the land and take all the cattle and all the riches.
And still retain that attitude right now.
Exactly. And still be like, black person, stay there. Yeah. So I just started writing, compiling, and I finished my book. I normally say it was born in Ireland and it was buttered in France and it was toasted in South Africa.
Oh, okay.
So it's already toasted and voila, here it is.
So this is basically an exotic cuisine because we're eating Ireland, we're eating French, and we're eating South Africa.
See?
Because of you. Thank you so much, Mercy. But you weren't there to write a book. You were there to study.
Yeah, I studied,
Yeah, so what exactly were you studying?
In Ireland, I was doing food security. I was just looking at food security and agriculture and climate change. With this changes...
Was it centralized in Africa or was it global?
No, it was global. Actually, it's so funny because in every class that I've ever been in Europe, there is a map in the class.
Okay. Okay.
You've never seen that in South Africa, right? Not in our schools.
Not in our schools.
Not in my school, my public school.
Okay, in my school, because
well, fortunate are you. So it was, I had engaged with a map in my geography class. I think it was standard 4. I don't know what standard 4 is now.
Grade 6.
Yes, but I memorized the hell out of it and I got over it as soon as I left.
Okay.
So it was like kind of engaging with the world from a new perspective. Now I knew where Kenya was in Africa and where Uganda was, where Ethiopia was. Like,
your mind started to paint a picture.
And I knew where Singapore is, if you're asking about Singapore. Not like, when you're memorizing something, someone has to ask you a certain way. That is reality. That's what we grow up with. We are growing up with an education that is bits and pieces. But in a European context, their education is holistic. It's very connected into everything. So that was my experience.
So they give you a bigger picture, the actual picture. That is.
And the most outstanding thing for me was how I was treated by my professors. Because here in South Africa, you are dunking and hiding for a professor and blah, blah, blah. I would engage with my professor over a cup of coffee, over tea or anything.
Oh, wow.
And we'd talk. And in class, he would be like, I remember Professor Speedan would be like, Mercy, what's your thought about this topic? I loved case studies that are done in Africa because I had a view of how the smallholder farmers are functioning. Okay. So he would wait to have my word, and I was like, "Whoa, that's quite interesting." Because
actually, your thought was valuable.
It was
to
valued.
Them.
Even starting from the administration, my registration, and everything, I had someone assigned to do anything for me. If I needed to look for a residence, someone was responsible. Wow. If I had to fix my finances, someone was. People knew that I was there. I was a South African studying in Ireland. You know, so you kind of feel special. It was the same in France. But the barrier was that everything was taught in French. I had to learn French, so I was very retarded.
So you can speak French?
Well, je parle français, well.
What?
So, but everything was very organized. So that was my experience in terms of education from abroad.
Okay. It's very sad, though, like that we actually become surprised of such No, it should be
The reality is humanity.
yeah,
Life.
like it's supposed to be the standard of life and like what you're talking about. But in our own home, it's not.
No.
You know, so that's why we become shocked.
Yeah.
It's a cultural shock.
Actually, it's what I'm talking about blacks versus blacks.
Okay.
And how we treat each other so badly. You know, today I went to a post office.
Okay.
Just to post.
I saw that on Facebook.
to post my books, you know, because I have clients everywhere, and then I went to the post office. I just wanted to post to them, and there were 5 tellers, 5 spaces, counters, and there was just only one lady working. Others were just looking somewhere else and doing other things. I went to ask one, and she was like, "No, you're all going to be helped." On that teller, and I was like,
and there was
whoa.
like lots of you.
There were lots of people, even grandmothers who were coming to for ePay. So I was like, this is not on. You know, that's how we treat each other. I was there the previous week, and the security guy that was talking to me was brushing me off, like talking to me like I was a piece of crap. You know, and to me that was like, that's us black people. I went to a police station requesting just certification of one of my letters, and the guy wanted me to beg him. Because it was like 4 and the certification ends at 4. So that is how we black people treat each other. If you make it, you know, the attitude, it's a book by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Decolonizing the Mind. He says, he's a Kenyan. He was writing about Uhuru, the freedom. But he talks about how we black people, our black leaders wanted to be like their masters. When their masters, the settlers, left to England, they wanted to drive the big cars. They wanted to live in the big houses. They wanted to have the domestic workers. Nothing was changing. It was not a black person leading another black person. So our mind has just followed that routine of if you're a leader.
Still colonized.
We are very colonized, you know. And if you get a job, you want to be bossy. Because, you know, when someone has been abused, they want to abuse others. And that's the whole system of Africa in every country that you go to. You know?
So you moved from France. There are Africans in France. There are a lot of Africans.
Francophone,
yeah.
From Togo, Mali, Burkina Faso.
And stuff.
Yeah.
So did you engage with any of them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So how was it? Were they different from the typical African, if I can say that
Africans are all the same, I guess. We are one people.
Serious?
But, of course, we had the language barrier. It's normal because they can't speak English. So I had to kind of meet them halfway, and I used a lot of sign language. I remember the first time I met a lady that I wanted her to take me to the shops, and she didn't understand. So I had to be like, food, sweep the floor, blanket. So, but they're full of Ubuntu. Sometimes I remember one time I was going to do my laundry, just wearing my shorts and just my lazy clothes. Yeah. And then I met them at it was an open space where you can sit on your way to the laundry. And they were eating, the Senegalese, they're eating these big dishes.
Wow.
Huge. So the girls are eating, the guys are eating. And then you make it this big surrounding. You sit on the floor. I was like, the typical African. And you're eating on the same big dish.
Bowl, yeah.
And they called me over, like, okay,
come and join us.
Come join us. I was like, no, I need to go change because I'm kind of uncomfortable. And then I went to change. I came back and I sat.
Wow.
We ate. It was such a delicious fish. They cooked the whole fish or the whole chicken with the whole carrot, with the whole cabbage. So you can imagine this giant, big feast.
So it's like a buffet right in front of you.
So we continued doing that, eating together and hanging out, maybe for lunch in school and all that.
Okay.
But we are all the same. And they're very loving. But, you know, the sad thing that I spotted about us Africans is that we do not know how to relate with each other in terms of gender.
That's true.
You know, if I'm talking to a guy,
there's a lot of tribalism.
Not in terms of that, but in terms of gender. Okay. That's how we are raised. There's a gap between a boy child and a girl child.
Okay.
So you stay there, I stay here. When we meet at an older age, we don't know what to say to each other. Yeah. There's awkwardness. I talk about that. There's awkwardness. So what I felt most with guys was awkwardness.
Oh.
They don't know. They can't talk to you without bleed.
Oh, okay.
If you know what I'm
asking
saying.
You out. Yeah.
See? And they're kind of asking you out in a very invasive way. Like, another one took my phone. He was taking my phone and punching in his number. I was like, oh my God, I'm in a bus. Like, just stop that, you know? So there was a lot of that.
Okay.
And otherwise, everything was fine, but...
Just general African. Just in Europe.
Yeah.
So you didn't only stay in Ireland and France, but you actually went to Uganda.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I spent 5 months in Uganda.
Actually, I think you really enjoyed Uganda, surprisingly. Yeah.
I think in Uganda I found, not really, I've had my roots, but I was, wow, how do I put it? I was so sensitized into Africanism.
Okay.
Because when I landed in the airport, I was so tired, so jet lagged. It was like 11 hours of flight from Paris, and I landed in Rwanda, in Kigali, stayed a bit, and we went on to Entebbe.
That beautiful city that's like trending all
I
over.
didn't get out. But we were told, the first thing we were told, that don't get out with your plastic if you're coming to
Rwanda.
Yeah, Kigali.
Wow.
And I was like, that's amazing. So I landed in Entebbe airport, and the first thing that happened when we landed, it was so hot, it was so humid, and I was coming from, I think it was it winter? It was still cold. It was still cold in Europe. So when I came, it was so warm, it was so tropical, and all of that. And when we got inside the airport, electricity switched off. I was like, oh, welcome to Africa. Yes, welcome to Africa. And then we had to wait for some time to check in, and I was going to do my visa. Then I had applied, but I had to take a photo of the visa, blah, blah, blah. But I was taken to a place where I was going to be living in Entebbe, and it's a farm. I was hosted by Emma Naluima, a very magnificent lady, well-traveled. Black lady, she's a vet.
Okay.
And very well-traveled she's a farmer, she's a master farmer that trains other farmers into, I'll come to that. And then the road was like, oh my God, gosh, it's horrible.
More horrible than going to Elliot.
If you're talking about, there's no potholes in South Africa.
Are you seriously?
I don't want to go there. I don't want to offend anyone. But anyway, I got there and I slept. I woke up to this beautiful rain. It was 3 a.m. and I woke up. I was like, these big mango trees outside my window and mango avocados and the greens and everything. It was so beautiful. The soils are so red, mostly. Red
because they are fertile?
No, it's high iron. It's not very fertile. It depends on the type, but red soils are not always fertile.
All right,
they're very hard to manage and all that. Okay. But I was hosted by this lady, so she introduced me. She showed me around the farm, and she was producing pigs. She's producing about 900 pigs a year. She's buying Cambo breed from here in South Africa. So these huge white pigs that she's producing, because in Uganda they eat a lot of pork. Okay. So what I went to study there was how other farmers from around the area are adopting her techniques. So her techniques were, there's piggery, and then every day they collect about 100 kgs of pig waste.
Okay. 100 kg. I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
Kgs, yes.
Because there are many pigs. Of pig,
Dung. Yeah. So
that's a lot.
Yeah. So they put that in the sun for the house flies to lay eggs. It's that gross.
Okay.
And then they lay eggs, but the whole process takes about 5 days. And then you get your maggots. And then you take that, you sieve it, you separate it. So they're like, what are we going to do with this? So they feed that to chicken. It's high in protein. Very nutritional. Free-range chicken.
Wow.
And then they're like, there's still too many. What are we going to do? And then they started fishery.
Okay.
The catfish, they produce about maybe 2,000, it's 500, maybe 2,000 over a season. It's like 6 months for them to get ready to be matured. Okay. And then tilapia, but the catfish are fed with their maggots. So it's that whole system, that circular system. Nothing goes to waste.
Yeah,
even
everything
they
is
have
renewable.
Cows for the milk.
Okay.
The milk is feeding the piglets because they stop suckling at 28 days, so they still need to continue.
Okay, to make them bigger.
And then the cow dung goes to biogas.
Of course.
For heating the piggery.
Wow.
You see? And then
so everything, there's nothing that's taken externally.
It's like a circular economy.
Wow.
And then the rest is used for fertilizing banana because we cook banana. Okay. We roast banana.
Okay.
We eat fruits.
That's very interesting.
So,
very interesting. But in terms of farming and the economy in Africa, not only in Uganda, but you just saw a small scale of an economy that could happen. So do you think farming for Africans is the future?
Of course, because many African countries are built on farming. What you see here in South Africa, it's an inverse, because in the rest of the African countries, it's small scale farming that is thriving. In South Africa, it's large scale. That is the commercial white farmers, which is suppressing the diversity. Because what I saw in Uganda, I had never seen sesame seeds. Someone just planting sesame seeds for themselves. You buy sesame seeds at a very, very high price.
Yeah, in South Africa.
They are producing groundnuts, the passion fruit, like the granadilla.
Yeah.
Everything. I went to the market. I think I spent in Uganda 1 month without ever going to a supermarket.
Because everything is around you. Everything, just pick it.
Everything is in the market. There are days for the market. You buy your tomatoes, your mangoes, your everything, your sesame seeds, your roasted groundnuts, It was so beautiful. It's something I've never seen in South Africa because we are so. It's monocultural in South Africa.
Okay.
You have to you're doing maize and that's it.
That's it.
But what's the nutrition?
Okay.
So agriculture is the future of Africa if we're doing it the African way. Because the settlers came, they introduced their needs. You have to plant wheat, you have to plant maize, the large scale for their ambitions. For it's capitalism. It's not the African lifestyle because in the villages we still do our intercropping. That is, you have a spinach, you have a cabbage, you have
pumpkins and everything.
In a capitalist world view or the monopolic world view, that is inefficient. It's not economical. That's what they're promoting.
Wow.
But in Uganda, what I saw was like, wow. Even in Kenya, I saw that. I was like, wow, this is so cool. This is how we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to, because in South Africa, basically, we buy everything.
Everything, yeah.
Even the lands that used to be farmed, they're degrading now because they're not farmed.
We actually buy everything.
We do.
On our way here, because I went to go fetch you, we were talking about the different areas that different races used to live in. And we compared like the RDP houses of white people and the RDP houses of Indians to those of RDP houses of black people. And the difference, my God, I actually showed her the lowest class white area.
That was a suburb to me.
It's a suburb to me too.
It's offensive to the black community, actually.
And the people the black people that move in those neighborhoods had to buy it. They had to make it.
The RTPs.
To reach the level of the RTP of white people
that means
Indian people.
It's a working class that can reach the class of just an RTP.
For us black people.
That's what I saw in PE. Last weekend I was in PE. And I was so angered when I saw how the condition that people live, and I think it was a Tamakagi.
Okay.
You have those houses that you're sharing the wall with your neighbor. You paint it differently. I paint it differently. We're cool. That's my house. But for me, that is degrading of an African.
It is.
They were just laborers. They were just building for laborers. Those tin houses, matchbox houses. How do you expect someone to live in such a house when they are living luxurious lives? If you look at in the context of Cape Town, you look across the street. They're huge, luxurious, beautiful houses, spacious, green trees. You look across, there are shacks of people who can't even move. Now tell me, how does a country like that function when the indigenous people or the natives are treated like they are visitors, they are settlers?
Exactly.
That is why I don't have a problem with white people, but I have a problem with every white person who feels that they are superior to blacks, who feels like they deserve better, who feel like there's nothing wrong with privilege, because I've engaged before with white South Africans who don't see anything wrong with the land grabbing that they did.
The thing is, they don't see it as white privilege. That's why. They just see it as, I don't know, because you kind of, every time you bring this conversation up, you have to explain what white privilege is. The fact that
it's normal for them.
Yeah, the fact that we can go to the same school, we can be friends. We can go to the same school, study the same things, but then we're gonna have different salaries.
Of course, still today.
That's actually the simplest way you can explain.
You still do your degree and your boss has grade 12 and they earn 5 times more than you. That's being privilege. Black in South Africa.
Exactly.
I don't know, maybe in other parts, but maybe in America it happens. But, I have a problem with someone who's coming from Europe, settling in Africa, to order around an African, to tell them what to do and what not to do in Africa. Yeah. That's the type of a white person I have a problem with. Then pack your bags and leave.
Yeah, this is not your
place.
Yeah.
When you talk like that, they'll say, oh, she's so angry. It's hate speech. No, I'm not angry. But it's reality. Because if you have to live in South Africa, then let's engage.
Yeah.
Let's interact.
Yeah.
Let's integrate.
Yeah, we have to integrate. Yeah.
Be willing to, because I look at when you're driving to Johannesburg,
Yeah.
you look at hundreds of hectares that belong to just one person.
Goodness.
If you look at the farms, if you go to at Komga, I don't like the name Komga because it was
it was changed to suit the white person.
It was changed to suit the white person. It's Komga.
Yeah.
If you're driving there, you see hundreds of hectares that belong to just one person.
Yeah.
With a nice farmhouse, spacious, beautiful, and luxurious. And my heart breaks when I look at the farm workers' houses. It's like these small rondavels or these small little houses built with cheap material on small spaces. They are just so clustered. You know, where's someone's privacy? Where's the family's privacy?
Yeah.
Because they have their families there.
Exactly.
You know? So it tells of how many white people in South Africa see black people.
Yeah.
You're just another laborer.
Yeah.
You're working for me.
Okay, so like as you were reading through the history now, let's go just a bit back to Europe. You're busy reading about the South African history. These emotions are building up. Obviously, anger is one of them. And then these white people are asking you, because I remember there were Germans that actually came to Alice. And they were accommodated by one of our Christian brethren. So we were kind of hosting them. We had a bride for them and everything. And every time I spoke about race, looking at it now in hindsight, it made them uncomfortable because from where they come from, it's not that much of a big deal.
Yeah.
But to me in South Africa, seeing a white person, it's an opportunity for me to engage in a racial communication, conversation. But it made them feel uncomfortable. So you reading and having all these emotions, and now they're still asking you the question, okay, so how's South Africa? Do you think they actually saw the emotion and stuff?
Yeah, I remember we would have lunch and we would talk about this racial issue. I would be so intense. I was so angry. I just wanted to let go of my energy.
Okay.
They would tell, they would see.
Okay.
And I'm so sorry about what happened, but I wish they didn't do it. I'm like, you didn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm not angry at a white skin. I'm angry at a human.
Yeah.
Who's just despising another person for being black,
Yeah.
So at some point I was very angry and I had a lot of headaches when I was writing the book because I had to review things that I didn't like.
You overthinked a lot of things.
Yeah. I'm Africa. Africa is me. So
yeah. So there are a lot of things that were touching you personally.
Yeah.
Like in South Africa, you can't help but be political because there's so much injustice.
There's no way you're not going to be political in South Africa unless you're ignorant.
Yeah. So you have to have a political opinion.
Yeah.
True. So which brings me to my very, very current and very interesting engagement that I want to have with you. We've got like 2 days. Before it's the national and provincial elections. And there's like 3 dominant parties that are like conversing. There are other parties that actually I've never seen so many. Like I was working for the voting, I don't want to mention the name, but I was working for the voting commission. There's so many political parties that have
emerged.
Wow. Yeah. There's like every, when you talk about our minds being colonized, because being colonized and then there's apartheid, which is a different thing. Yeah. And apartheid actually means separation.
Yeah, segregation by race.
Yeah, So you actually see through these political parties because it's like there's a party for each race. Yep. There's a party for the Boer. There's a party for the Englishman. There's a party for the Muslim. There's a party for the colored. There's a party for the Indian. There's a party for the radical black person. There's a party for the very general liberal black people. Yeah. There's we've been so much segregated.
Yeah. Divide and rule.
So all these parties now this apartheid, which is supposedly not anymore, we're supposed to forget. The effects are actually being apparent to us in our everyday life.
Yeah, they're very live, yeah.
So seeing the spectrum and this melting pot, if I can call it so, of so many political ideologies. Can you compare it to the ones in Europe? How is it there? Or what do you have to say about it?
I didn't get active. I didn't invest in knowing about any political whatever because I was very busy feeding myself with what is happening at home. But there's just 3 parties that are very active. now.
Yeah.
We have ANC, I'm going to call them
Yeah.
ANC, DA, and EFF.
Yeah.
You know what I see about them, each of them?
Yeah.
To me, it feels like for the DA, I feel like they want to retain white supremacy.
That's what you
Why
feel.
had they...
We should put a disclaimer there.
No, that's me. That's according to me saying it.
Yeah.
You know, why have they let Oriana exist? The town for white people only.
Only.
You know?
Exactly.
And I think for them, it's a go-to place. It's a home for them. They want to still feel white, you know. And for me, ANC, I respect the organization. They fought for freedom, but they have forgotten about people. Okay. What I said, Ngoki Wationgo, we want to be the masters when we get there. You know, each person wants to cut a slice from the cake. Okay, they have ruled. Yeah. It's like they're saying apartheid has ruled. They have had their share of South Africa, of resources. Now it's our turn. And ANC, they are chowing money like nobody's business. That's true. I see everywhere. You know,
like I could even personally mention few instances that I could see that this has nothing to do with helping people. No. It's just about getting connections and knowing the right people. Yeah. Like people from I'm related to. You understand?
You know, I'll just say something very practical. I went to look for help for sponsorship
for writing the book,
the launch of my book.
Oh, for the launch of the book, yeah.
The first question that I was asked: are you an ANC member?
Wow. By
the offices that I went to, knocking
so you
desperately. So that means being black and South African is not enough. You have to be ANC to be able to access the money. Wow. And the guy kept saying that, you know, there's a lot of money in ANC, a lot of money, but you just have to be connected with the right people, you know, and all that. So you find all these young people who are puppets and running up and down and wearing those T-shirts. It's because they're having their share.
Yeah.
ANC has forgotten about people. You know, they've forgotten about their mandate as the ruling party. You know, the people that brought freedom. Yeah. And for people to say that, you know, you have to keep the ANC in power, blah blah blah. It is despising people. It is saying we don't hear your cries, we don't hear you, we don't see you. It's all about us. It's all about chowing the money. You know. And then there's EFF, which I think, I don't know Malema's idea, but I think he has cut the thread from the governance of Thomas Sankara. Okay. The ideology a bit of. But of course there are reservations about it and how he talks about, I think for me, expression is everything. Yeah. If you're bringing your food in a dirty plate, I'm not going to take it. It's difficult for me to take it. Yeah. You know? Yeah. But he's a really smart guy, young
very
guy.
Intelligent,
you know, we go back there and we're saying we need young blood. Look at ANC.
It's just old people.
It's all people who are feeling so entitled because they fought for freedom. You know, you just want them to all die, this generation to all die, so that nobody will be claiming that they fought for freedom. Exactly. You know, to see what's going to happen. You know, so that's my take. Nobody's better.
You know, like I think we've got about how many minutes? Got about 2 minutes. Hey, just when I was getting excited, you know, this is my favorite topic. But yeah, we've got about 2 minutes. It's been so nice. This is actually what we do when we meet up almost all the time. So
talk about politics.
So it was just like another conversation. Yeah. But this is the first segment. So we're going to be back. My co-host Randy is going to be finishing off the second segment. So I hope you do justice. I hope you do justice to this topic. We're starting to heat up and I was starting to have a lot of questions. But anyway, it's been real. So do you have any social media handles?
Yes, on Facebook I'm Wombakazi Miss Ngandega, and on Instagram Gosazana _H.
Okay. Yes. No Twitter.
Wombakazi Ngandega still.
Okay. So, yeah. Well, I always tell people my handles, but yeah, let me repeat it. On Facebook I'm ADA Neo Maga, and then on Instagram I'm Neo Ada, and then on Twitter I'm Spartan AD. So you can follow me, but we're going to be writing the handles on the screen so you can follow us. You can follow Mercy. Her posts are very interesting. They're very interesting. So you'd want to follow her and also get the book. How much is the book?
It's 220 actually, very cheap.
Very cheap, yes. Yeah. there's another thing that I'm thinking about, but we could talk about how the sales are going regarding the book. But anyway, you're going to have a book launch. You said when?
Yes, I'm having a book launch on the 25th of May. It's at Mtata, Arrow Spring.
Okay.
898.
Okay.
Southern Road Mtata.
Okay.
It's at Rock Ministries Church. And the entrance will be 300 rands for the people who don't have the book and 80 rands for people who have
Where
the book
can they
already.
get the tickets?
The tickets will be found at the Christian bookshop at Ngeps, Ngebulana Mall.
Okay.
And also from Sparks on the robots on your way to Kwezi. There's a Sparks over there and you'll find my tickets there.
Okay. It's been real, Mercy. Thank you so much. God bless.